From the Studios of Books in Motion, this is Beth Richmond, reading Bone Dry by Bette Golden Lamb and J.J. Lamb. Now let's begin with Bone Dry. Prologue. Waiting for the right moment was making her nuts. Ghent was everywhere today, everywhere except in his office. Twice she'd tried to get to the cold storage units, but each time the lab chief had been roaming the work area. Did he know? Was he watching her? God, if she didn't do it soon, it wasn't going to get done, and Frankie would beat her again. She used her toe to nudge an insulated, oversized lunchbox on the floor. Everyone was used to seeing it, made ratty remarks about how fat she was and why. But they never turned down the cookies she baked for them. Well, no goodies in the box today. It was empty except for frozen super ice to protect the packets, if she could ever get her hands on them. Faye! She spun around on the stool. Ghent was hovering over her. Where are the hematology printouts for urology? Just a sec, she said. I don't know where the hell your head is, Faye, but it sure hasn't been here. Sorry. It was the second time she'd been yelled at this morning, and it still wasn't noon. If she didn't get to the packet soon, she'd what? A few minutes later, the ER called for 10 units of plasma. Some kid had been shot, and he was bleeding like a stuck pig. Suddenly, the room was a frenzy of working technicians, Ghent in the middle of everything. She grabbed a lab cart, put the lunchbox on the lower shelf, and walked quickly to the rear of the lab. Her stomach cramped as she moved into the freezer repository area. Then dry heaves racked her. What if someone was watching her? She refused to look back into the lab. She snatched up a pair of insulated gloves and a pair of tongs, grabbed Carl Chapman's supply of marrow from the freezer, and tossed the packets into the lunchbox. Cold sweat layered her skin. She clutched the cart handle, unable to move, unable to breathe. Trembling, she finally forced one foot in front of the other, made it back through the lab. As she slipped the box under her station, Ghent walked up to her. "Fucking kids," he said to no one in particular. "Imagine shooting your own brother in the gut over a stupid pair of sneakers." Chapter 1. Gina Mazzio hunched over the engine of the Fiat Roadster, ran her fingers along the black wires that sprang from the distributor cap and snaked their way to the spark plugs and coil. They looked okay. "So why doesn't the damn thing turn over?" Gina muttered. She conceded that she should have listened to Harry, who had warned her about Italian electrics. She'd gotten pretty pissed at him. Boyfriend or no boyfriend, that was going too far. She was Italian, and she didn't like either his attitude or his comments. Maybe she'd even bought the damn car just to show him she knew what she was doing. So much for that. A glance at her watch made her edgy. She'd be late for the morning report if she couldn't fix this mess, and soon. She lifted the distributor cap, grimaced. Green crud covered the ignition points, preventing any meaningful contact. Stupid, stupid! She pulled a nail file out of her purse and scraped and filed away the corrosion. When she was satisfied with the results, she capped the distributor and wiped her hands on a grungy rag and tossed it into the trunk. She looked down at her nursing scrubs. At least she hadn't picked up any grease smudges. This time, when she turned the key, the car started with a satisfying purr. Maybe she wouldn't be late after all, and she sure as hell wasn't going to tell Harry about this. Following the morning report, Gina escorted a group of volunteers around the oncology unit, fielding their questions about bone marrow and autologous infusion. One woman turned particularly pale when Gina described the needle process of having marrow removed from your own bones to save for future autologous replacement following chemotherapy. After that, most of them couldn't wait to get off the unit, the specter of mortality chasing them to the safety of their cars. She couldn't blame them. She felt the same way.